It's not easy to begin in the career because there are many writers and you have to fight. And if you come from my background, you have to fight more. And I was sending those short stories to a newspaper which was published in Montreal at that time. It was La Patrie. And they were rejecting my short story, one after the other and one after the other. But there was that great writer who very often had a story published. I was reading it and I was telling myself, that's not as good as my stuff, because I was the biggest to me. So one day, instead of writing at the bottom of the story, Roch, which is my name, I wrote the name of this big writer. And the story was published. And this was my beginning. This was my real beginning in La Patrie. And I remember my father, who would begin the story with full of details, describing everything and putting his story in place. And suddenly he will put out his waistwatch from his pocket. He would look at the time and would say, oh, I'm sorry, my wife is waiting me for supper, with stopping the story, putting back the watch in the pocket, and he will tell the sequel of the story after the supper. And it was a good technique. I know how to do a chapter from that. No, I don't know. When I begin to write, I don't know where I'm going. I'm just at the beginning of a road, and I just don't know where I will go. It's exactly like, I would say, walking in the woods. I teach to earn my living, and it's not a bad work. In fact, it's something I enjoy very, very much. And as writing is a very solitary work, it's good every day or sometimes in the week to be in front of young people who are asking you the real questions. It's good, keeps in shape. We lace our skates like Maurice Richard. We tape our sticks like Maurice Richard. We cut all his picture out of the paper. Truly, we knew everything about Maurice Richard. On the ice, when the referee blew his whistle, the two teams would rush at the puck. We were 5 Maurice Richards, taking it away from 5 other Maurice Richards. We were 10 players, all of us wearing, with the same blazing enthusiasm, the uniform of the Montreal Canadiens. On our backs, we all wore the famous number 9. One day, my Montreal Canadiens sweater had become too small. To order my hockey sweater, she did as she usually did. She took out a writing paper and wrote in her fine, gentle schoolteacher's hand, Cher Monsieur Eaton, would you be kind enough to send me a Canadian sweater for my son, Roch, who is 10 years old and a little too tall for his age. And Dr. Robitaille thinks he's a little too thin. I'm sending you $3, and please send what's left, if there is anything left. I hope your writing will be better than last time. Monsieur Eaton was quick to answer my mother's letter. 2 weeks later, we received the sweater. That day, I had one of the greatest disappointments of my life. I would even say that on that day, I experienced a very great sorrow. Instead of the red, white, and blue Montreal Canadian sweater, Mr. Eaton had sent us a blue and white sweater with a maple leaf. So I was obliged to wear the Toronto maple leaf sweater. By the third period, I still had not played. One of the defensemen was hit in the nose with a stick, and it was bleeding. I jumped on the ice. My moment had come. The referee blew his whistle. He gave me a penalty. He claimed I jumped on the ice when there were already 5 players. That was too much. It was unfair. It was persecution. It was because of my blue sweater. If I have a special team, yes, probably this is the theme of the small against the big, something like this. If I can see quite precisely my first book, and in my first book there is that theme of the minority, French-Canadian minority against the majority. So this is the small against the big. If I think about my last book, Lady with Chains, against it's the small man, the small woman who was struggling against the strength of probably God, good and bad. So this is probably my main theme. I wrote that novel, Lady with Chains. It's a novel about love, hate. And it comes from a very old story I heard when I was a kid in this village. Old people were telling stories about their father's time. And one of these stories was dealing with a baby who had been lost in the snow. It was kind of terrible story to hear. And I was a kid, and to be lost in the snow was very present in our head, because this would happen sometimes during the winter time, and it was a fact of life that kids or adults in the snowstorm would get lost or lost in the forest. So we were afraid of this, and this impressed me a lot. There are 2 main characters. One is a man, Victor. Victor is the builder. He's building. He's going in the bush, in the forest. He's building a road. He wants to build a land. He wants to build, I would say, a love. He wants to build a family. He wants to build cattle. He's a builder. His wife, Virginie, she's the woman. She knows more than building. They were great lovers, I think. They got married, and now they are living to build the new place in the forest in which they will now live. And they will encounter a huge snowstorm. And the new baby, will be lost in the snowstorm. It's a terrible one. The baby is lost. The man who is a builder, it's not really a problem because, okay, the baby is lost. We can do nothing about it. We have to go to build, to cut trees, to build, and we can begin again and do a new baby. We could do it right now. In the spring, the end of the winter, and the child would come at the start of next winter. Virginie, we could make the child today, because I'm not going out in that storm. We could make a child right now. Virginie, I've put dry wood on the fire. While the fire crackles and makes pretty sparks, you and I could be obeying God's law. To speak or to write from the point of view of the woman, it was not really difficult for me. I was I would say, trained by the reading, a lot of reading, and one of this writer who wrote those great readings was Flaubert. And Flaubert speaks about one day of writing. And he wrote in that day that a lady goes in the wood on a horse to meet her lover. And Flaubert wrote, today I was a horse, a man, a woman, and a leaf from the autumn tree. So a writer has to be all that. And if I am a writer, I must write, and I must succeed in writing from the point of view a woman, a horse, a forest, autumn leaf. So, for different reasons, Virginie, as I told, decides to kill his man. Her man. She decides to kill her man. Perfect English. She will use mushroom. And this is the mushroom section. The good Lord, who had sown all about them, animals and plants that they could eat, had also allowed the devil to distribute his poison food. She will dispense justice. Briskly, she kneels and pulls up some mushrooms. She already has an armful which she holds against her breast. It feels cool. She is bearing death. How soft it feels, the death that she carries on her breast. She tries to run, for she must return before that man awakens. Grass wet, with dew tangles around her legs, holding her back. It feels as cold as snow. She arrays. Why is she thinking of snow when the sun's fire is burning the sky? She pushes the door, creaking. The man shakes himself and turns on the mattress. If he catches sight of her with the devil's bread, he won't want to eat what her hand have touched. She tosses the devil's bread in a pot and covers it. That man opens his eyes. The light that comes in the door is hurting them. He shuts them for a moment, then gets up. Without speaking, he arranges dry wood in the stove, shreds some birch bark, lights it, and when the fire has caught, he takes the bucket to the stream. He is going to draw the water that will kill him. That's part of the mushroom chapter. Oh, so I guess you are tired of working so hard with me. We maybe, I don't know if it's the right time to stop.